problem child on the beat. It's Poe. God given. Exhibit A.
Hey YouTube, and welcome back to yet another Under 5 review. As always, I'm your host, Zachary Pickett, and this time I'm going to start off my indie streak with a mixtape none of you have probably heard of, but I think should be known, and that is Poe Picasso's Exhibit A, The Real Hip Hop Project. For just a little background information, Poe Picasso is an MC out of New York City. This mixtape was actually released in the fall of 2007, to very little fanfare, but almost near universal acclaim by those who listened. And I have to agree with them because this mixtape is really good. To start off with, Poe's got a very nice sense of flow and cadence that I don't see very often anymore. He's got very little trouble transitioning from bar to bar and knows how to use metaphors, similes, and other things to get his point and message across, whether it be stroking his own ego or talking about the poverty in Haiti. Also, to go along with his flow is a very nice beat selection and production by head producer Problem Child. And yes, you may have heard some of these beats before, and yes, you may have heard some of these samples before, but the way those two work together and the end result is so good, it doesn't even matter where the source material came from. Honestly, this mixtape reminds me of Lupe Fiasco's Fahrenheit 1st and 15 series mixtapes, although the content of these mixtapes isn't as socially impacting or barely scratches the surface of the issues it does tackle. And while the mixtape isn't too culturally impacting and nothing you haven't heard before, it remains very consistent in its subject matter or content, staying on topic and very rarely venturing far from that. While that can be seen as playing it safe, it works here and turns out a really great product from it. But this leads into my first real issue with the mixtape, and that is with the one and only guest appearance by, I guess, spoken word artist Influence. And while the spoken word piece in the cut Respiration 08 is very well done and seems to fit the overall content of the track, it seems oddly out of place and offbeat with the rest of the production behind it. While it does add some things, I don't think it adds a lot and can break the sense of immersion that comes with the track and may annoy the hell out of some people. I know it did to me. And another thing, Poe can seem a little overly cocky at times and a little conspiracy wary, and that can get really annoying too, but I guess it fits into the overall theme and subject matter of the mixtape. And so if that's a part of it, it gets, yeah, I guess I can let it slide every now and then. Another thing you may notice for those audiophiles out there, there's some really weird mixing in this mixtape. Yes, I know it's a debut, and yes, I know it's the first attempt, but there are some times where the music will become louder than the lyrics, obscuring what is to be said, and sometimes just cutting the flow of the track in general. But the last thing I want to say about this mixtape, and the thing that I really appreciate it, and as you've seen from early reviews, I get really excited when the artist puts more of himself into an album, a mixtape, or a track than you would normally see, because that's something I really appreciate. And everything about this mixtape is Poe. His family are natives of Haiti, and he's a citizen of New York City, and he reps those to the fullest. He lets the issues and concerns of those areas influence his music, his ideals, and he puts those into his lyrics and creates something absolutely masterful at times, which is something I really appreciate. And the one last tag I gotta add is that you can tell he loves Dilla, because there are some Dilla beats in here, especially one of my favorites, Last Donut of the Night, at the end of the mixtape, which as a Dilla fan myself, I really appreciate that, and I was totally down with that, even though I think you need to come correct when you dealing with a Dilla track, but that's for another time. But I digress and give this mixtape a very solid 4 out of 5. It was one of the best debuts I heard when I first heard it, and I still hold that opinion today. And as always, I'll leave links below to Poe's Facebook page, his YouTube channel, and the Bandcamp and the DatPiff where you can download the album. And also, he has another project that is the sequel to this album called Exhibit B Manifest Destiny, and I think you also check that out. But I hope you liked what you heard, and if you did, hit that like or that subscribe button. And if you have any more independent artists to suggest, or any more I should be aware of, just let me know in the comments or send me a message. And as always, thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time.
Outside, it's an unstable habitat infected with guns, crack, rats, government booby traps. Outside.